Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. Are you ready for a wee album review?
Yes.
Of course you're ready. Of course, Dave, is your answer. You are ready for album reviews. For this review, Duncan Kyle...
No, usually as pleasant as that.
No. Duncan Kyle and myself will be checking out the new EP from Corrupt Moral Altar. The band's new EP, Patiently Waiting for Wonderful Things, is out on November 27th via APF Records.
Was this written during the COVID? the name just strikes me as being laced with a bit of sarcasm, Dave.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of these guys.
No.
No.
Nope. It was a first time listen.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you mean? Am I sure?
Definitely. Well, I'll tell you why, because I reviewed one of their albums for Rock and Roll Reviews, so I thought, you being like a big fan of myself, reading all my reviews, that you maybe would have listened to this.
I sometimes read your reviews and didn't feel the need to listen to the album afterwards, Dave. Because you were so great at writing that I felt I got the full experience of the album without actually having to listen to it. And I still feel that way about a lot of the things you do.
Good save.
Dave has spoken so highly about this that I no longer need to listen to it. I just agree.
Okay, now it sounds like fake news, but anyway, let's move on.
No, I had not heard of these guys before.
Okay.
But
I
find some of their older stuff now.
I reviewed their 2014 release, so we're talking 6 years ago, but hey.
Jesus.
Mechanical Tides was the album that I reviewed for Rock and Roll Reviews back in the day. So I was pretty keen to check out this new album, hear how these guys sounded in 2020. This release comes 3 years after their last album, Eunoia, which I think I somehow missed. I don't remember hearing that album.
Oh, you didn't hear it, did you, Dave? Oh, interesting.
Well, I've heard it now, but at the time I don't remember hearing it. Mechanical Tides was great though. Just going back to that 2014 album that I did hear. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. It's a... How would you describe these guys? A very groove-ridden grindcore with elements of sludge and bits of hardcore thrown in as well. A mix even of if you took Iron Monkey with Pig Destroyer and maybe a little bit of Napalm thrown in there as well. Roughly it's
like a gangbang there, and all of a sudden out of nowhere the Cancer Bats came in and they joined in as well.
Oh yeah.
There are huge bits of the Cancer Bats in this, which did my heart good. And really makes me wish that I'd listened to that 2014 release now. Or the one in 2017. Yikes.
This release sees the band also hook up with APF Records, who have quite the roster of doom and sludge bands, including Beggar, which we've spoken about before on podcast, Desert Storm and Void Lurker, just to name a few bands, but pretty cool label. So anyway, let's chat about this new EP, Patiently Waiting for Wonderful Things. Well, Duncan, I'm going to let you kick us off because this a new band to yourself. I want to hear what you thought about this EP.
Right. Well, let me kick off by saying that I think they've got a playful side out with what I'm assuming is extremely sarcastic title, which is amazing. But also, I love the names of the songs. So you've got everything from Cathedral of Porn, which is what I call my MISC folder in my external hard drive. It's just a monument to semen. You smell expensive, which is how I smell all the time. Maximum Bastardry, which is what Dave refers to almost every recording I do. I'm a Notion of Wisdom, which is just generally my how I refer to it in my day-to-day life, so stuff like that. And Spirit Breaker, which is what I'm trying to do to Dave right now. So I'd never heard of these guys before, and I will be honest with you, after about a minute and a half of the first song, I had resigned myself to the fact that I didn't like this release. Mostly because of the mix, which by the time I listened to it through a second time, I'd completely 180'd on.
Right.
I felt on, and I'll be honest, I felt when listening to Cathedral of Porn, which I'll mention again because it's such a fun name to me. It's got the word porn in it. It's so cheeky. I thought the guitars were too loud. I thought the drums didn't have enough clarity in them. I couldn't make out the bass at all, and I couldn't. The vocals were so buried in the mix. It was painful to listen to. And weirdly, when I listened to it the second time through, I'd completely changed my mind. I kind of felt like the guitars could have been down with being turned up even more. The vocals were maybe a bit too loud, and like the drums had like perfect clarity. So I don't know what happened in between them. It is a insanely fucking angry release. Just like from the first 3 seconds into this, it is 100% just going for the jugular, and it doesn't let go. Even I want to say it's Spirit Breaker that might start off with a slightly quieter moment at the beginning. Even that doesn't last long. No. They just really have a sense of fucking swagger and urgency to their music, and that is kind of told throughout the kind of frantic pace changes between giving you like slabs of groove and then just walls of fucking noise. And when I say walls of noise, I legitimately mean just walls of fucking noise. The guitar is not nearly detuned as much as you would think for the heaviness of this band. If anything, it sounded like it was relatively conventionally tuned. But the riffs are fucking great, and this guitar just jumps from riff to riff to riff in a really pleasant sort of way, even though the music is very ugly to fucking listen to. They have a combination of different kind of styles of vocal delivery. The kind of default is this really kind of high, screamy, really throat kind of destroying, kind of almost black metal-y but not quite kind of tone, which I originally thought was buried in the mix, but I actually think it's more to do with the way it's delivered, and that's why it works, because when you get the more kind of mid and guttural range vocals that come in throughout the songs, I think that's where it actually stands out as being a bit more. If it had been turned up too much, I think it would have been overwhelming. So I really enjoyed that aspect. So I really enjoy the vocal delivery. It's punchy and it doesn't give a fuck, and I kind of enjoy that. But just the EP itself fucking doesn't let up. And I actually thought, like, the first listen through, I thought, this is a fucking long track, and I realised I was on track 3 because it just fucking flows right in. It doesn't give you any time to breathe at all out with the beginning of the Spirit Breaker. It just is a colossal assault on the senses in the best possible way. It mixes enough elements in this, like you say. It's not just all kind of grinding noisecore shit. It has other stuff in there which I think makes it like instantly appealing and made me want to listen to more of it. And the production is so fucking raw that it's like your ears just want to bleed at the end of it, and you just want to shove it on again. It's like the sort of, I've never been totally into sadomasochism. I don't know why I'm going down this road, but I feel like I should confess I've never quite been into it. Like the idea of attaching jump leads to my testicles and or nipples or both, and then attaching the other side to a car battery has always been something that I thought probably hurts. I don't know if I'd like that. After listening to this EP, I'd probably give it a try, because the pain that it kind of caused me listening to it was wholly fucking enjoyable. These guys are fucking great, and I'm just going to say that they're a brand new band. This is their first release, and I found them. I thought this was absolutely brilliant, and I'm so glad that I have a standing rule of, if I start listening to an album, I'll listen to it to the end. I don't really switch stuff off, because I feel you have to listen to a whole album anyway, to get the idea. Because if I was I'll listen to the first 30 seconds of this and then make my decision on it, I probably would have switched it off and not went back to it, because like I say, I felt there was issues in the mix that on the second listen, after acclimating to the only 18 minutes this EP will take to listen to, I thought it was perfectly balanced. But But yeah, this is about as angry as anger gets, and I kind of love it for that. So yeah, Corrupt Moral Altar have made a believer out of me.
Nice.
So yeah, really enjoyed this one.
Awesome. Kyle, what about yourself? Had you heard of these guys before?
I've never heard of him before.
Oh.
I may have read your review about it, but I forgot about it.
Yep. See, Dave,
Not kidding, I wrote myself a whole script of everything I was going to say about this album, and Duncan's just said everything verbatim.
It's because I could read your sheet from over there, Kyle.
Yeah. Where have you put the camera? I better put the camera back on.
You don't want to know, and I won't tell you what I saw either. It's our sheet. Cathedral of
No,
Porn.
I mean... Yeah, I read the song names. It's like, yeah, I could deal with this. Cathedral Porn. I wish I had one of those.
Not in your country, they just burn it down.
Yeah, well, it'd be a sticky mess to get through. Anyway.
Yeah, the burnt semen just doesn't sound appealing as a fragrance.
No, I don't think you can make an entire genre out of
It
that.
smells expensive, apparently, according to track 2. So
Yeah, that's my favourite track on the album, actually. It's what I tell my wife every morning when I wake up.
So you were a fan of it?
Yeah, I was. I agree about the mix. I was like, when I heard it, I was like, this mix is shit. It's just, what the fuck? But somehow, it really works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really lends itself to the music they're doing. It's definitely just got a fuck you attitude and they don't give a shit and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, it works so well. And like you, I listened to it a couple of times and I was like, it actually really works. The first time I was like, this is not great. But then you kind of take it all in context and it's like, this mix actually really works for this. So, yeah. And but I liked it on Spirit Breaker, actually. That was one of my favorites because they went clean, but not all the way clean. Yeah. And it was like, it just threw me for a loop because, like you said, the first 2 tracks are like, I was out of breath just listening to it. Like, oh my God. I tried to stand up in my chair and broke into a sweat. But then that one came back and kind of gave you a breather, but it wasn't all the way clean. It was still really crunchy. And it's like, but considering how heavy these guys are, that's probably as clean as they were willing to go. You know, they're like, oh, let's clean this one up. Like, all right, maybe.
It's really clever
Turn the
placement
knob
as
like
well.
a little bit down.
You know what I mean? In terms of like an 18-minute 5-track EP, putting as your second to last track something that isn't as cerebrally aggressive as the rest of it is a surprisingly bold but very smart move because you need that. I think you need a bit of that respite to get into I Am an Ocean of Wisdom, which, you know, turns it back up again.
I know, yeah. Just so, right back up.
I think the placement is genius.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it just threw me, especially after Maximum Bastardry was just all the way through, like a million miles an hour. And I was like, okay, great. And the riffs were just insane. I was like, how do you write these riffs? Do you sit there and calculate them or something? I have no idea. I tried to write riffs like that before, and it's just like, nah, not gonna happen. But Spirit Breaker was great. Definitely that one that sort of sold it to me. Like, okay, these guys can do heavy, they can do fast, they can do pissed off and angry, and they can also do this, which is almost clean. But loved it, yeah. And then they just cranked it back up to 11 again for the last track. So yeah, really, really liked it. Everything just came together really well, even though my first impressions were like, but they turned me around and made me a believer.
Yeah. I like, people are going to hear on YouTube me getting an absolute, what the Scots would call a bollocking, which is when someone gets angry with you, for another kind of grindcore release that we reviewed. It might be out by the time we do this, by the time this drops. And you will hear me defend my statement on that I really like it used when it's mixed with other stuff. And whilst that release does have other things, my concern was, I don't want to steal the review points, but you know, like when you hear a riff and then you that's an amazing riff and then it disappears. That's not what happens with Corrupt Moral. Or you hear a riff that you think that's amazing, and then they play it a few times, and I'm like, yes, and then they hit you with the fucking like insane drumming and wall of sound and all the rest. Davey, you like this? I can tell by the look in your eyes, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I already liked them from before, so I wasn't surprised that I enjoyed this. It's an EP that doesn't really hang about and get to the point, does it? Like there's a very, very small intro in the first track, Cathedral of Porn, which then leads into a fairly sludgy and grimy first verse, but it's not long until like they up the pace and just like, hit that big red button. They just jump into these like visceral grinding sections, which are like preceded with lots of copious amounts of hardcore punk. But variety is the spice of life, Duncan. So, and Corrupt Moral Altar do keep that in mind throughout this release. It's not anything I haven't heard them do before. Really, there's a couple of little bits, but they make it a really enjoyable listen. Like it's an enjoyable ride. The second track, "You Smell Expensive," that was probably one of my favourites on the EP. It's one that just like constantly shifts in tempo from like hyper blasts to slowed down groove riffs that lean into like sludge and hardcore, and that kind of balance of tempo really works in keeping you like engaged in the track. And the EP in general, actually, they don't let sections of each song become too lengthy that it becomes repetitive. It's a very like fine balance, but I think they do it really well. I'm the same as you guys. I thought Spirit Break was probably the standout on this EP. It's that intro totally threw me. It's like almost like a space rock with like a jazzy kind of rhythm. I was like, what is going on here? And like for a second I thought they're just going to put in like a whole track of this just to kind of break up like the EP, but no, like the track quickly escalates into another absolute rager. But I really dug the melody. There's melody kind of laced throughout that track, even in the vocals, which I wasn't expecting, and I really liked that. Really enjoyed that part of it. Production wise, yeah, same as you guys. I kind of knew what I was going to get, so I wasn't overly surprised with production. It's just filthy. Like it's paired up with their sound perfectly. It's not shiny and polished. It's just full of grit and bile. It's just awesome. I really enjoy this type of stuff. Like I'm an absolute sucker for a grind band that keep things interesting, and I think these guys do it really well. So another great release from Corrupt Moral Altar. On the rating side of things, where are we sitting with this new EP from Corrupt Moral Altar? Duncan, what are you going to give this one?
I give it a 4. I think it's fucking like, this is the sort of thing that when it finished I could have had another couple of songs in here easy and I would not have, like, it's kind of, its re-listen value is benefited by its length, but because the songs are so just full on, you kind of feel like when it does come to an end, you kind of feel like you could just go another couple, and it wouldn't put you off. I think it's a great release. I really, really, really liked it, and they're on the radar now. So well played, lads, and keep the sense of humour going, because I was giggling when this came through. Not like the title is because I'm a giant mind child, but also because I like things that have a sarcastic bent on them, and the title of that album, if it's not sarcasm, then I don't know what is. 4 I thought was great.
Awesome. Kyle, what about you?
Same, 4. Same reasons as well. Just 4.
Yeah.
Great album, great little thing, and it's definitely benefited by its length. That you can just put it on and go, it's alright, I'll listen to it again. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to agree with you guys. It was a 4 out of 5 for me as well. Thoroughly enjoyable EP from Corrupt Moral Altar. The EP is called Patiently Waiting for Wonderful Things. It is going to be released on November 27th. Be sure to check this one out. If you want to check out the band, it's facebook.com/Corrupt Moral Altar. Well worth checking out.